From the banks of Dewey Lake, it's the Dewey Pod Monster.
All right, welcome back. My name is John, and this is the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. This is your weekly podcast, and it's usually about movies that are an hour and a half long. That is not the situation this week. We are, of course, proud members of the You Run Podcast Network. Find all of our old episodes, all of our new episodes, and all of our upcoming episodes at yourunpodcast.com. While you're there, please do check out some of the other shows that are on the network. There's a lot of great shows there that want to entertain you, so the least you can do is let them. With me this week is the host of the Dewey Pod Monster podcast. His name is Sean. And Sean, how are you doing today?
John, I'm too old for this shit.
Me too. I was kind of hoping you would have found a less obvious quote, but that's okay. So, quotes aside, I did do my homework this week, so we can go back around to the chair company at some point here. But what have you been watching this week, Sean?
I got 3 things for you. 3 words for you. No, it's more than 3 words. Sorry. So anyways, I watched
at least 6.
Yeah. Can you smell what The Rock is cooking? 6, 7, whatever. Anyways, so I got a chance to watch 3 things this week, and I'm going to bring them to you for your enjoyment. I don't know how enjoyable this was, but on Netflix, I watched the documentary series, Katrina, Come Hell and High Water. This is a 3-part documentary. Have you seen this, John? Have you seen it? Have you seen it?
I thought you were going to say a different documentary series that's on Netflix that I'll be talking about shortly.
Oh,
but
okay.
no, I haven't. I've seen that it's there, but no, it felt like a bummer. I didn't want to watch it. So
a little bit of a bummer. It's a 3-part doc on Netflix.
Not that the one I'm going to talk about is uplifting story, but
it's the story of Josh Groban. So this documentary is about people who got caught in Hurricane Katrina in 2005 in New Orleans, and they have interviews with these people, including some first-person footage that they were able to film, like from cell phones or 2005 era equipment. And it's really interesting. I mean, it is a bummer, but if you know what happened, you know what happens. It's not like anything. It wasn't right. As there was one that I saw that was actually about people who recorded while they were kind of in the midst of everything. And it was all pretty much told by first-person account. And I can't remember the name of that one, but it'll be linked in the show notes if I remember. But this one was pretty good. It wasn't super like a super downer, but the 3rd part is like a totally separate thing. The first 2 episodes are like an hour long, roughly. And the 3rd episode is basically like a retelling of the first 2 episodes, but it's directed by Spike Lee. And it feels like a recap. And there's like some remembrances of people who were lost and whatnot, but it has a very obvious, or not necessarily obvious, but like a very heavy Spike Lee influence. Like you can tell this is a movie by Spike Lee, whereas the first 2 you cannot tell that. And he produced the whole thing. It was interesting. I thought it was pretty good.
I have mixed opinions on Spike Lee as a filmmaker for the most part. Is that a good thing that you can, is he noticeably different in a good way, or is it like all of a sudden you're in one of the Spike Lee movies that you might not necessarily want to be watching?
I will say for me, because I had watched 1 and 2 pretty much like one day after. I didn't watch it back to back. I watched like 1 on a Monday and 2 on a Tuesday. I didn't feel the need to watch a recap of the entire thing that I just watched in the last 2 days to watch again. So
Sure.
I only made it like a half an hour in, if that. And I was just, it was a little bit more like a little bit more upbeat, a little bit more of a celebration of these people rather than like the tragedy that they went through. So in that respect, I thought it was worthwhile watching, but I had just seen everything I wanted to see, and I really didn't want to go through it all again. So, I mean, they had the same people that you saw interviewed in the first 2 parts in that 3rd part. I mean, that, consider that what it is, so kind of think of that when you're watching the first 2 parts, like, oh, maybe I could just watch the 3rd part. The first part is so much more first person than the second part, or in the third, that 3rd Spike Lee piece is more of like I said, more of a celebration.
Is it a Spike Lee joint?
Yes, it is. It is a Spike Lee joint.
Okay.
So the next movie that I watched was, and I think you're familiar with this, it's called Laserblast. And it's touted on the poster, one of the posters, one of the variations of the poster as, quote, the original sci-fi classic, end quote. This is produced by Charles Band, and it features about maybe total, if you just wrung out all of it, you may get like 2 minutes of Roddy McDowall in the movie, but he's also like one of the quote unquote stars. So This movie is basically about this guy that's like a mutant zombie who's just running the countryside with a gun, like a Mega Man gun stuck on the end of his arm. And these two turtle without shell looking motherfuckers are flying in a UFO. And that's like the most impressive part of this movie is like this spaceship and the claymation stop motion turtle dudes are there. And they're like, oh, they shoot this guy, this zombie dude, and he drops his gun. And then once the zombie guy is killed, this disgruntled teen who really doesn't have any reason to be disgruntled at all, who's like living pretty high in the hog. He's got a good looking girlfriend. He's got a nice, super cool 70s van. You know, he gets his run of the place. He gets to drink with his buds. Maybe they're not his buds, but anyways, he finds the gun in the desert. And the rest of this, after Roddy McDowall gets killed, basically, in like, once he leaves the scene, the rest of the movie is just this guy who's slowly turning into another mutant zombie dude, like running around like an ape on the rocks and blowing shit up. And that sounds like it should be pretty fun, but it gets really listless after Roddy McDowall is gone. And the rest of the movie's just like, we ran out of ideas. Let's just blow shit up. It's like, that's kind of cool. It's like Beavis and Butthead, but not as fun.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I remember is laser cannon and stupid shit and explosions.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not a movie that, aside from the poster or cover, that really has a ton to sink your teeth into.
Not and the alternate poster, I don't know which one's the actual poster. I think the one with the artwork, like the hand drawn artwork on it is probably the original poster.
Not. I think the shittier one's the better one.
Which one do you think is the shittier one?
It's got like, if I remember right, let me pull it up just to make sure I'm thinking of the right movie. Because sometimes I confuse it with that Brendan Lee one. What's this called again? Laser what?
This one's Laserblast.
Laser Blast.
The other one's like Laser Fire
Laser
or something.
Quest is not right. Yeah, the one with like the hand drawn one's fun because it looks like Gary Busey on like a good day. The other one is the one with like the turd looking like dinosaur
guy.
thing. Yeah, that guy. That's one that I kind of laugh at because it just looks so shitty.
I remember seeing the drawn one, and it just reminds me of like a Klaus Kinski or a Richard Lynch or somebody. Like the guy's face just looks like, I don't know, it looks really stupid. And there
Busey.
I could see Gary Busey, and there are little homages to the spaceship, to the turtle dudes, all that stuff. So that's Laserblast. I mean, I think IMDb, it maybe maxes out at like a 3 out of 10 on IMDb. It's not a great movie, but it is fun. Like I could see somebody sitting down and like, this is live action Beavis and Butthead. This guy's just going to blow shit up. And then the third thing that I watched, John, I think you've seen this, but I finally got around to watching the 2025 film Bring Her Back, which you've seen that.
No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, I thought you had.
I don't think so.
Okay.
No, I heard it's pretty intense.
Yeah. It is. It's the latest film,
but no, I haven't watched it yet.
From the Philippou brothers, who are the guys that directed the. It's in the same universe. It's not really a sequel. Talk to Me. It really starts out. The movie you just jump head first into this movie where Andy's the 17-year-old kid, and it takes place in Australia, as the Philippou movies generally take place in Australia. And Andy goes into the bathroom to check on his dad because he's not like answering him. And he goes in and finds his dad has like basically died in the shower. And he had been undergoing chemotherapy treatments and stuff. And he had cancer. Obviously, you don't usually have chemotherapy for fun. So he has cancer, and he ends up dying in the beginning of the movie. And Andy and his stepsister get placed into foster care. She's like vision impaired. She's pretty much legally blind. And they get involved with this foster mom who is really kind of weird. And then there's another kid that's in the house, Oliver, who's even weirder. And I don't really want to give it away. I feel like it's a movie you have to sit and kind of unravel. I'm not going to really make any kind of commentary on the movie, but let's just say hilarity ensues, as it generally does in this kind of movie. So I liked it. I was pretty entertained by it. It wasn't nearly as much of a horror movie as I was expecting, I think. I was going to watch this on a plane, and I'm kind of glad I didn't watch it on the plane. I watched it from the comfort of my couch. Because, you know, as my wife said, I thought you only watch stupid movies when we were talking about whatever movie it was a couple weeks ago. Machete. She may have said that didn't look like a stupid movie because it's really well put together. I don't know what her opinion would have been, and I don't need any further judgment from her. So, like I said, I'm glad I watched it alone on the couch. So, John, those are the 3 things I got to watch this week. How about you?
You like talked to me quite
I
a bit
did.
too, didn't you?
Yeah, I liked it. It's kind of the same vibe. It wasn't like super scary.
Yeah, I remember you liking it more than I did,
Mhm.
but that not shocking. So,
Yeah.
so before we get into what I watched, or maybe in addition to it, let's just start with the Chair Company and kind of get this one out of the way because we both watched it.
Yeah.
I did get around to finishing it this week.
Okay.
Let's just go ahead and put it out there because it's still a really new show, so we might get a little spoilery, I guess, because I don't know how we could talk about it without being at least a little bit spoilery. But
honestly, I don't know how we could talk about it and be spoilery. There is just so much that happens.
Well, and that's kind of where I'm going to go. Like, I'm going to start with, I'm glad that I still don't have any fucking clue where this show is going. Like, every time I start to feel like I kind of know where they're going with this show, they throw several wrenches into the show and confuse me more. So that's good. I also feel like this show, really since episode 1, has been hurtling towards some sort of this is all a dream, or this is some kind of psychosis, or there's some sort of like, we're going to look back. I don't know if it's going to be an episode or in season 2 or what, but we're going to at some point look back, and or maybe it's just going to be the next thing that like YouTube picks apart because, you know, they're so good at doing that, and says like, this is reality, this is not. And they're just going through scene by scene and saying what actually happened in the show and what didn't. Because there's straight up stuff that ends up happening in the last episode of this show that it breaks the laws of physics, arguably, at times. Like, I don't know. I really like where the show, because I mean, the show looks amazing. Like, there's a lot for what the show is, which is kind of like a schmuck playing detective, essentially, against this corporation. There's actually a lot of really good like camera shots and camera angles, a lot of good lighting techniques and stuff they use to make it look really good. The last scene especially, they do a lot of stuff with panning and like zooming in and out to do like segues into stuff that looked very cinematic and very cool. So I give it a lot of credit for that. But from a narrative standpoint, I'm just as lost after episode 8 as I was at the end of episode 1.
Do you want to give us a little bit of an idea of what the show, in your estimation, is about?
Very high level, I would say the show is about Tim Robinson's character, whose name I don't remember at the moment. He's a project manager. He's building a mall or something like that. And in the first episode of the show, a chair fails on him and he embarrasses himself in front of like a sign assembly, I guess a meeting or something like that,
like
with his
corporate pep
coworkers.
rally, basically.
Yeah, something like that. And basically from that point on, he's hell-bent on uncovering this conspiracy theory based around Tekka chairs, which is the brand of the chair that he fell out of. And over the course of the show, he finds some interesting characters that really open up just as many questions as I do answer questions from before you met them. And it just kind of, if Circling the Drain was a TV show but comical, this is what this show would be so far for me.
Can I make an admission to you?
Sure.
Okay. When I watched this and I talked about it, I think it was like last week or the week before, when I said like, oh yeah, I finished it, et cetera, et cetera. John, did you finish it? And you were like, no, not yet. That was episode 7. And I thought I was done.
Okay.
Like my wife and I, we always try and find shows that we can watch together because she doesn't spend nearly as much time watching. She watches a different kind of bullshit than I watch. And I can't necessarily stand the type of bullshit that she watches. She actually reads a lot, but she reads a lot of the same things, the same kind, like, rom-com type books or whatever, but she's actually watching a Hallmark movie right now. And I couldn't do it. So for a sort of
reasons. Is it the Louisiana Christmas one with Bruce Campbell?
No Southern Family Christmas. This is the 12 Dates of Christmas, which is actually a series.
I'm sure they're the exact same thing.
Yeah, more or less. But anyways, we watched episode 7. And I was like, well, that's really weird that they would have 7 episodes to a season on. I mean, it's HBO, it's Prestige TV. They don't do the 30 plus episodes, but in a season. But we watched it and we finished it. And I felt like totally, the way that episode 7 ended, I was totally complacent with that being the end. And I could totally accept that that was the end. It had hallmarks of it being like the end of the season. Well, then the next week appears. And I said, oh, we're not actually done with that show. There's one more episode. And the episode 8 didn't make it any clearer as to what is actually going on in the show. So I love the absurdist nature of the show. I
think if anything, it opened up if anything, it opens up twice as many questions as you went into episode 8 with.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when I thought episode 7 was the last one.
Well, yeah. I will give him credit. I like that I don't even know what he is. I'm going to call him the antagonist, but I like that he's just wearing a Jason hockey mask for a little bit and spinning in a chair. I thought that was pretty funny. Every episode has like 1 or 2 gags in it that are like genuine Tim Robinson comedy, just kind of shoehorned into all this stuff, which kind of I feel like that's in there almost like keeping his core audience there. But yeah, like narrative wise, although I'm enjoying it and I'm up to see whatever comes next, I'm so lost as to what's actually happening with this story.
The last thing I'll say is I'm actually surprised that people are thinking that there's going to be another season.
But there is. They've already renewed it.
Have they?
So yeah, they renewed it. They announced it like last week, like a couple days before the last episode.
Oh, okay. I didn't keep up on it, but I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be let down at all if it just ended. Like, I'd be fine with that. And I think it's almost a fitting kind of end to it. But if they make another season, I'll watch it.
I also would have been fine with that. But yeah, no, they did already I mean, I guess with this whole Warner Brothers, Netflix, Paramount thing, like that could change everything. But as of today, they've approved it for another season or greenlit it. Probably get that. What else did I watch? So in terms of uplifting documentaries, I watched the Sean Combs The Reckoning documentary that is on there, which is produced by 50 Cent and directed by some other person. And holy shit, like I can't think of another docuseries I've watched that feels as much like a hit piece as this Sean Combs The Reckoning one. I think it's 4, maybe 5 episodes, something like that. It does drag a little bit, but like it also hits points where like, I just want to get this over with. Like, I've invested time in this. Let's get to it. There's parts of it that feel like they're just reading like the Wikipedia and putting a lot of like well-produced like videos to it. And it definitely paints a picture that regardless of what your opinion is of Sean Combs, they're definitely accusing him of all kinds of crimes, whether he's able to be charged for them or not. And if this is a legitimate piece, like assuming that all these people are the right people and not some like, because I'm saying this with all due respect to the people in this, like, I don't know who these people are. I don't know if this is the guy that they have who's like the co-founder of his record label. I don't know who worked at Bad Boy Records in 1990, whatever. So you could have put Sean on there and said, "Hey, I'm Sean. I was the co-founder of Bad Boy." I wouldn't know any different. Like that. That's what I'm saying. So assuming these are all like legit people telling their story, it's a pretty damning documentary. But I don't know. There's just enough of it that I'm like, I kind of don't know if this is legit or just like a big bullshit story. It's interesting enough, though. It does feel a little long in the tooth, but if you are interested in music stories and, you know, this asshole being told through the lens of another asshole, it's worth watching, I guess. But it's definitely not uplifting. And yeah, if you're sensitive to the whole sexual assault stuff, or SA as they call it now, because apparently that's how you don't get kicked off of things, which is another dumb thing. Like, why are we abbreviating this? Isn't part of like, aren't we supposed to talk about these things so that like it doesn't keep happening as opposed to abbreviating it and hiding it? I don't know. It seems dumb to me. But the only other thing I'll bring up this week, and it's more or less in the interest of time because we went on the Chair Company. I did a rewatch of the movie Goon, which came out in 2011, which is a hockey movie, sports movie. Have you seen this one before or familiar with it?
I'm familiar, but I haven't seen it.
So it's got Stifler or Sean William Scott. It's got a Jay, I'm gonna fuck up his name. Baruchel. Thank you. Allison Pill and Leif Schreiber in it as your leads, and they're all fine. It's basically this story about a guy who's a bouncer. Turns out he can fight, teaches him to skate, and he's just skating around a minor league hockey system being a goon. What's good about it is, you know, I haven't played hockey, but it feels authentic to like what kind of fucking weirdos are hockey players. Like there's a bunch of just wacky characters that kind of gel to make this hockey team. And that's anything I've ever heard about hockey players is they're kind of like a weird breed of human beings to begin with. So it feels like it fits. And obviously there's a lot of fighting in this and it's all stylized because it's a movie. it feels better than, you know how in some sports movies when they like reenact like a hit or like a punch or something, like it just feels kind of stupid. It feels right in this for whatever that's worth in a hockey movie. So it's entertaining, and they even kind of make you forget that you're watching Stifler. He's just this lovable dumb idiot that punches people in the movie. For an hour and a half sports movie, I got to say, it, in my opinion, is one of the better sports movies out there. It does pretty much everything right that you can ask a sports movie to do, and I really have no major complaints about it. If we were putting hot dogs on it, it's definitely a full hot dog for me. I'll go back and rewatch it again. It's not meant to be this like think piece of a movie. Like you're not going into this and be like, oh, I really thought they could have gone deeper with the character.
Goon.
You know, sure. They could have really gone deeper with these characters. No, they don't need to. It's just a dumb comedy sports movie, and it works. That's all I got though for this week. So, you know, I've been kind of dreading this a little bit. Let's go ahead and switch gears and talk about the movie Lethal Weapon from 1987, where I have a feeling I'm going to piss someone off, possibly Sean.
Uh-oh.
So,
Don't do that.
Well, you might get over it. I don't know. We'll see. So we're going to take a break, come back, and we will start talking about the movie Lethal Weapon as Christmas continues.
Hey, John here. We recently conducted a survey of 500 senior citizens, and 499 of them said they would rather listen to any podcast other than the Dewey Pod Monster. We're here today to talk to the one. This is Crazy Balls Johnson. Crazy Balls, what do you like about the Dewey Pod Monster podcast?
I love that you guys are always balls to the wall, living life on the edge, talking about bullshit movies that everyone else hates. But I eat that shit up like a pig in slop.
You heard it here, folks. You can eat that shit up like a pig in slop, too, along with all the other fine podcasts at yourunpodcast.com.
All right, so we're back in full of technical difficulties, and this week we are going to be talking about the movie Lethal Weapon, the Christmas classic that is all about Christmas and not about anything else for at least 4 or 5 minutes out of this hour and 49-minute movie. We start with a third-party review, and this one comes off of Rotten Tomatoes, as per usual. And it is an anonymous review. More people got to start putting their names on this. They have such great takes. I want to give them a name, but they don't. And this person says, I always preferred Turner and Hooch when it comes to buddy cop films from the late 80s. 3.5 out of 5 stars.
Name and shame them, John. Name and shame.
I'm not necessarily going to shame him. I don't agree with him, but I can see where he's coming from. Sean, what's this movie about?
All right, so for that, we go over to IMDb and we type in the words Lethal Weapon, and that brings up one of these 4 movies. I think it's 4. It says it's from 1987. It gets an R rating. It's an hour and 49 minutes long. It gets a 7.6 out of 10 with 292,000 ratings. And there's this weird thing on the IMDb page. It's like a green circle with an arrow. We haven't seen one of these. I haven't seen one of these in a while. It's been years. It's 731, which is up, I think, from some number. It's 371 spots better than it was from some other number before. And we scroll down to this other thing. I'm not sure if it's the storyline or the plot, but I feel like they wouldn't put it on top if it wasn't supposed to be read first. It says 2 newly paired cops who are complete opposites must put aside their differences in order to catch a gang of drug smugglers. And if we scroll on down to this other thing, which it says it's a storyline, it says, and this is care of Graham Roy, who can be contacted at GSR at cbmamiga.demon.co.uk. And he says, Graham says, Martin Riggs is an LA cop with suicidal tendencies, unlike the band, and Roger Murtaugh is the unlucky police officer with whom Riggs is assigned. Together, they uncover a huge drug smuggling operation, and as their success rate grows, so does their friendship.
I like the alliteration you're putting in there or whatever. It's a pretty impressive cast for this movie.
I don't know if that's alliteration, but okay.
It's not the right word at all.
Inflection.
But anyway, this is a pretty impressive. Yeah, sure.
Like, shut up and let me tell
There's
you about
pretty
this
impressive.
cast.
No, I'm going to ask you to tell me about the cast because there's a lot of them, but there is a pretty impressive cast in this movie. That's one of the things I jotted down right away because, well, we'll get to this in a little bit, but just going through the credits, like in the first 20 seconds of the movie, you're like, holy shit, like this is kind of a lot of people that I like to see popping up in movies. So Sean, who are some of the people that are in this weapon that's lethal?
All right, so I'm going to start with the director. This is directed by Richard Donner. He is responsible for Superman, Goonies, Scrooged, The Omen. Ever heard of any of those movies? Amongst several others. This was written, at least in part, if not mostly by... What's that?
What the fuck's a Goonie?
Goonies. Never die. Goonies something. Anyways, this is written, at least mostly, I think, by Shane Black, who is also responsible for writing movies such as The Last Boy Scout. He had a part in writing Monster Squad, which I thought Fred Decker wrote, but it says Monster Squad on Shane Black's.
I thought he did too, and I saw the same thing. I'm
yeah.
Like, okay.
On his resume, we have Last Action Hero, we have The Long Kiss Goodnight, Iron Man 3, and The Nice Guys, amongst a few other things. And as for the cast, we've got Mel Gibson, who plays Riggs. He was in Mad Max, Braveheart, Conspiracy Theory, Ransom, Payback, several other movies. We've got Danny Glover, who plays Roger Murtaugh. He was in one of my favorites, Predator 2, Dreamgirls, The Color Purple. He's got over 200 IMDb credits, so just go on IMDb and look up Danny Glover, and he's probably been in something you know. We have Gary Busey, who plays Joshua. He's been in a whole bunch of shit.
It's been so long since we've talked about Gary Busey.
It has, but we had a whole month.
That we get to bring him back.
We had a whole month devoted where we covered movies of his, masterpieces such as Hider in the House, but we also talked about him in Silver Bullet. He was in Bulletproof and some other shit. We've got Mitchell Ryan, who plays the General. He was in Grosse Pointe Blank, Liar Liar, Halloween, The Curse of Michael Myers, and Hot Shots Part 2. And then we've got Tom Atkins, who plays Michael Hunsaker. And we talked about him in Night of the Creeps, Halloween 3, Maniac Cop, and he's been in a bunch of other stuff. And then we have Darlene Love, who plays Trish Murtaugh, and she's probably best known for singing Christmas, Baby Please Come Home. There's other people in this movie, but those are the ones that I care about. Anybody you care about that I didn't mention, John?
I'm just trying to check if... No, you hit them all.
Yes.
I was trying to remember if Mitchell Ryan, the guy that like passes out on Seinfeld that Elaine's dating and then they shove cookies in his mouth.
Yankee Bean, I love my Yankee Bean. That's not.
Yeah.
It's not Mitchell Ryan.
Looks similar though.
Looks
right?
similar. Old.
Looks
white.
Okay.
Hair.
Old white gray hair. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
So that's good. We can go ping pong back and forth on this. I think that's a better way to do this, and we'll start with just some positives on it.
You want to give me your cliff notes?
I don't really have a good one for this. Buddy cops do buddy cop things.
Can I give you mine?
Sure.
Okay. My cliff notes, Sean's notes are: a girl jumps from a multi-story building after doing coke and taking pills laced with drain cleaner. The girl happens to be the daughter of an old non-buddy for Roger Murtaugh, who's also been assigned a new partner straight from the psycho ward. After a brief breaking in period, Roger and Martin start grasping at straws to try and solve the case. But after meeting up with that old non-buddy, they uncover a drug smuggling operation.
That voice inflection is really working overtime today.
It's that sick-ass voice.
Yeah.
Using it.
Yeah, I mean, I think between your cliff notes and the actual plot or whatever of this, it kind of hits the main bullet points with it. But as far as stuff we like, this is the second movie in almost as many weeks, I'm going to say this. I totally get why women loved the shit out of Mel Gibson back in the 80s and why he was the like fuckboy supreme for a while there. One, he's a good looking enough dude. He's, shirtless for a good chunk of this movie, and
good hair.
He's got good hair. He's charismatic and very likable in this film. Now that does nothing to help what my opinion is of him in real life, but there's a reason why he was a big time leading man for 3 decades there or something like that. 80s, 90s, 2000s, maybe.
Okay. I
totally see it. I also will kind of piggyback on that. Like the performance out of Danny Glover is also great on that. The chemistry between the two of them plays off really, really well. And as long as we're on pretty good performances, I'm going to get it out of the way now. This is the most like restrained Gary Busey I can think of in a Gary Busey movie, short of when he's like old and incompetent and can barely like talking. Like he's still prime Gary Busey at this point. Like he's younger, in shape, etc., like not old and decrepit and buttered sausage Gary Busey. Yeah. He's not any of that, but he's got a couple of scenes where he chews a little bit of scenery, but like you compare him to like fucking Bulletproof or something, like he's way more like honed in for this movie than most of the stuff. When you think of Gary Busey, he's not being all teeth and no acting Gary Busey. So
can I mention that Danny Glover in this movie, he's too old for this shit. And I always thought I'm getting too old for this shit, but he's just too old for this shit. He is actually like his real age in this movie is 41 and he plays a 50-year-old, which, okay. Mel Gibson is like 30 in real, and he looks, I don't know what it is, but he looks like he's 40.
I would say 35 to 40. Yeah, for sure. That range. So,
and to kind of get on what you were saying about Gary Busey, I think that in this movie, it's cool to see Gary Busey not play the good guy. He's not playing the hero. He's not playing the guy that you aspire to be or the guy that you look up to. He's just a douche. He's like a mercenary douche, and he gets to play the tough. Like, I don't know how often, at least, I really, in his career, like, I don't know how often he actually got to play the bad guy. Like, he's not the main bad guy.
I mean, I guess surviving the game, but
yeah, true. He's okay. So he's gotten to do it a few times, but this one is like, he's lean, mean. He's like, looks like he's in really good shape.
He's ass kicking.
Yeah. He's definitely a menacing presence. And I think that's pretty cool that you don't get to see him play that. He can definitely do it. He does a great job, but you don't get to see him do it a lot. And he really pulls it off. And that's pretty cool to see, because you're just used to him being I keep trying to think of I'm trying to think of the movie about the dog, and I can't remember what the name of where he plays the dog.
Quigley.
Yes, Quigley. Yeah. He's not Quigley.
I said it when we were talking about him, but
I couldn't hear what the hell you said.
No, he's not Quigley. That's fair.
I'm too busy yapping.
There's a lot of like good action sequences in this when they finally get to them. Like the last, I'd say like 50 to 45 minutes of this movie. Like there's a point in this movie where basically once Murtaugh's daughter they go and do this, like essentially set up a Mexican standoff, although it doesn't play out that way, in the middle of a desert or something, where they're trying to exchange. The bad guys have Murtaugh's daughter and they're going to fuck them up, essentially. Basically from that scene on, which is about 50 minutes left in the movie, it's a straight up action movie. And the sequences in there, it plays well, it ramps up well, it does a good job, it's well shot, it all looks really good. It also looks like a big budget version of this kind of action movie, which I'll come back around to it like as a negative, because there's opinions I have there with that. But once this movie really gets going and kind of gets past the buddy cop stuff that's in it and the suicide stuff and the stuff that's in the first half or so of this movie, it does a really good job in the extremely drawn out third act of this film. And I think I think that's what most people remember about this movie, because if you're only looking at the first half of this movie, I'm not sure there's enough there to justify the love that this movie generally gets.
I can say, like, rewatching it this time, it had been several years since I watched this. And
same.
Yeah. I mean, I think I really fell off, and I might talk about this later, but I really fell off after like part 3. But going back and watching it this time, there were things I didn't remember. Like, I almost totally forgot the entire desert scene. I didn't remember like any of that stuff happened. I just, like, for me, this is one of the things that I liked about watching this again is this is peak 80s buddy cop movie. It's not the first buddy cop movie, right? It's not like, we could even say something like 48 Hours predates it by a couple years, but I feel like this is the quintessential, because this is a movie where we start seeing a character, you get the oil and water characters with Riggs and Murtaugh. They're nothing alike. They're polar opposites. Okay, whatever. But we start to see them connect on more of an emotional level. We get to see Riggs, like you mentioned, being suicidal. His wife had just passed away in the movie like months earlier via a car wreck. And he's emotionally unstable. Everybody, like the cop psychiatrist or whatever, the doctor is just like, yeah, he's unstable. But they let him keep working, which is a negative for me. Like, yeah, really. But he's in a different psychological state when the movie starts, and they start to warm up to each other. But this isn't a new thing, but this is definitely like the first movie where we see two characters that one of them's deeply disturbed, they start like becoming closer friends over time. And they really, when I watch it this time with an older set of eyes, I start to see that they start to bond more than I remembered it. I just kind of remember like, oh yeah, they just got stuck together and oh shit happens. Haha, funny. But there's like little things that happen in the movie where they actually bond together, where Riggs goes over to Murtaugh's house and he meets his family because he doesn't have a family, and he eats the wife's cooking, which is the big joke, is her cooking sucks. But like a movie like this, you see Shane Black's fingerprints all over movies in the 80s, especially after this. That
opening scene.
Well, I'm saying
opening
like
scene is 100% Shane Black.
Buddy cop movies after this point do not continue on where there's there's only the surface level relationship. You know, think of like Die Hard, where John McClane and Reginald Nacho Belgrande, like we got like Tango and Cash, right? We've got Bad Boys, we've got Rush Hour, we've got Men in Black, we've got The Other Guys, which is another Shane Black joint, so that makes sense. Going back to the joints. We got 21, 22 Jump Street. I think there's like, we could both name movies that if Lethal Weapon doesn't happen, they're still going to probably come out, but they're not going to be as like action, comedic, dramatic. Not all those things. Not all those movies are all those things. But I feel like this movie, I think the thing that really sets it apart is it's the first. It
sets a bar.
Yes, exactly. It's the first movie where these characters act more human than just caricatures of like, you know, cops, basically.
Yeah. Honestly, I think there's good and bad to that. Like I mentioned it. I think this movie is, when I think, if you say, John, do you want to sit down and watch like a 80s action movie? I'm going to say yes. And usually I'm thinking more of like a Schwarzenegger or a Seagal, or like something that's, I'd rather go like the opposite direction and be like, I'm going to put on Nightmare at Noon or some bullshit like that and have some just stupid fun with it and whatnot. Like, you're not going into that. The where this movie separates itself is with where I'm going on this is, this movie seems like they went out not only to make a fun movie, but intentionally make a objectionably good movie, because it hits dramatic elements. It hits real world problems that, I mean, the whole suicidal cop thing, I can't think of in another movie. Like, I'm sure there's other movies where like Bad Lieutenant, I think, has a couple things where he dabbles with suicide. I haven't watched that in longer than I've watched this, but I feel like there's some fucked up stuff like that.
Harvey Keitel, or
there's
the other one. Yeah, for sure.
Harvey Keitel.
Yeah, there's for sure suicidal elements.
I'm not even sure I've seen the Nick Cage one.
I haven't.
Like, even the action sequences that are in this, like, if you compare a guy that gets shot in this movie to a guy that gets shot in Invasion USA, it's a night and day difference. Like, just the squibs are toned down, the blood is there, but not nearly as pronounced. This feels like it's made for a general audience, even with an R rating, where a lot of those action movies that I tend to gravitate to would be more of like, kind of like what we look with horror movies. Like, yeah, that's still an action movie, but like, we're on a whole different like rating scale than what you're talking about.
And maybe a different audience.
Lethal Weapon. Yeah. And granted, that's subjective, but that's one of the things that why I don't look at this movie the same as some of its, what I think a lot of people call its contemporaries for this era. And when you bring up movies like Bad Boys or even Die Hard 3, for example, like, yeah, I'm sure those stole a ton of influence from this movie. There's no real debate about that. Mm-hmm. Whether that's good, bad, or indifferent is kind of where I get in the mud with it.
I don't know. I feel like different audiences. Like, this is a movie that captured general audiences and brought them into it made action movies more mainstream. Whereas, like you said,
made it more bankable.
Yeah, that too. Like, we look at horror movies and, you know, it has a certain audience. And when you're looking, especially at the low quality, you know, you brought up Invasion USA, and we talk about B-movie action movies, Golan Globus, you know, style movies, Canon Group stuff. Yeah, there's really no comparison. I mean, this is big budget, and that's shoestring.
Yeah,
but it also has a different audience, and I like we said, it just feels like this was made. It's more high caliber, higher budget, higher quality actors, higher quality director, writer, all that stuff. It contributes to lending more influence to the whole category.
I'm going to use Invasion USA as the example again, just because it's what keeps popping in my head. Invasion USA feels like an action movie. This feels like a blockbuster. Yes, this feels like a blockbuster movie. Invasion USA feels like an action.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yep.
So, and that's not necessarily bad, but
there's one that I am more likely to put in a second time than the other by a pretty good margin. As long as we're still talking, I'm mostly positive. Although I never want to see Tom Atkins die, his death in this makes me laugh every fucking time when they shoot right through the fucking party nog and he's holding it with just two finger holding it as he makes his stupid face and face plants into puddle of eggnog and blood. His death is, for a movie that is, what I was just saying, relatively, I don't know if grounded is the right word because there's a lot of stupid shit that happens. Like, how the fuck would that happen? Up to including both Riggs and Murtaugh's actions kind of sprinkled throughout the movie. But for a movie that is more grounded than, again, some of these other movies that we've used as comparison points, him getting shot through a window with just taking a bullet with the eggnog and just goofily face planting every time I'll watch that any day.
Yeah, I don't really have any more real positives. I think it's just the overall ambiance and that's a weird way to put it, but just kind of all the surrounding things about this movie just feel higher quality. Like all the stuff I've already said, basically. I don't want to rehash it. So yeah, it just has I don't know how to describe it, but there's just a certain feel to it that makes it feel like, I don't know, you feel
higher caliber.
Yeah, and you feel closer to the characters because of that, because they're while the circumstances that they're put into and a lot of the things that happen in this movie are wholly unrealistic and totally suspension of belief, you still feel some kind of relationship to these characters on the screen because they feel more personable, like more charismatic, more human. I will be the well actually guy of the podcast, because that's the role I play. But in the tree lot, the one of the main Christmas parts of this movie where like this is a Christmas, we're talking about Christmas movies and we haven't even brought up, there's like a specific scene that happens in a Christmas tree lot where Mel Gibson is breaking up he's basically like trying to arrest these drug dealers. There actually is a gunfight there. So that happens fairly early in the movie. But I knew that would be
without it.
No, I know.
It is.
But you said it feels like it takes damn near forever for him to shoot somebody in the face. So I just want to point that out. But I do agree with you. I don't have it as a negative because I don't this is an hour and 49 minute or whatever movie. It doesn't feel that long to me until I feel like the last 15 minutes really kind of drag out. Like I said, upon rewatching, I didn't remember any of the desert shit. And the thing that always sticks out to me is that ending scene where Riggs is getting electrocuted with the
unlicensed
battery.
MMA. Oh, I thought you were going to go with the unlicensed
I didn't
MMA
remember that.
lit by the. I didn't either, but I also feel like that's where it's like, all right, this is fucking stupid now, but also moderately entertaining, but fucking stupid. So,
yeah, I mean,
anyway,
I think
I'm sorry.
Other stuff, just to not, like nitpicky stuff. We get the cliche like, oh, the jumper, the guy jumping off the building. We get that whole cliche thing, like whatever. We get the more dubbing than I would like in a mainstream, like high budget movie. Danny Glover, and especially the scene with the little kid, all those little kids are dubbed. Like there's not an original voice in any of that scene. And Danny Glover is dubbed a lot. I found it so weird that it's his birthday. It's supposed to be Danny Glover, Roger Murtaugh's birthday.
I hope you're going where you're at.
The family breaks in. He's taking a bath. The family breaks in and they're all staring at his dong when he's like laying in the tub. Like it just lingers way too long. Yeah. Oh yeah. It's just like, man, this is so weird. Like don't come in the bathroom. If I'm in the bathroom, don't come in the fucking bathroom. I don't care what I'm doing. That's just super weird.
Unless there's some sort of like life and death emergency going on, fine. But if you're just going to bring me cake, you better let me soak in peace. Like
he just
shove the cake under the door or something.
Yeah. So. He just hopes maybe they hope he just has like a strategic bubble bath patch like floating over his junk.
Yeah, I don't think that's how it works, but that's kind of what it seems like they're going for. And
it's just weird.
Especially considering that his oldest daughter, she's 18 in this movie or something?
17 or 18, yeah. I don't know if I remember.
However old she is, she's old enough to know that I don't want to go walk in and see what dad's got floating around in the bathtub. That seems like a bad idea.
Yeah.
So maybe we can wait 15 minutes for him to get done with his morning tubby time. So
his birthday tub.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest thing with the negative is just that for me, this did feel like it went on for a long time. Like it feels like, until you get to that standoff part at the end where it kind of shifts gears. It feels like it's just chugging along, detail, develop, and that's fine and good. But it just goes, like I said, I could see myself watching this on a day where I'm okay with that, and I could see myself watching this like this week where I'm like, I just want to watch like explosions and, you know, car chases and shit. And it does eventually give you that, but it just takes so long to me for it to really get there. And I know there's stuff, like you said, there's the drug dealer scene where he, you know, oddly rolls around shooting. There's a handful of scenes where there's a little bit of stuff that happens, but it feels like they're just like, oh, we got to keep the action dorks like entertained for a few minutes. So
yeah, to like tide you over till the next thing. I haven't seen it in a long time, so I'm wondering if 2, because we've already built up the backstory of these two characters. This movie's a hit, right? It's a blockbuster movie. Yeah. If 2 is the one that more people gravitate towards when they're watching this, because we've already got these established characters. I mean, they blew up a full fucking building in part 2, like a real building got blown up specifically for that movie. So I just wonder if that's like more of the, where we start getting more of the Lethal Weapon that we all kind of think of. I mean, I know that we got the awesome Sting song for Lethal Weapon 2. I mean, the theme music for this movie, ridiculous, and maybe I can fit it in without getting struck. Yes. Horrible.
Oh my God.
Awful.
Amazing.
Amazingly
it's right
awful.
Up there with the monsters. It's right up there with the Monster Squad rap. So maybe that's where Shane Black got the writing credit for Monster Squad. Maybe he just writes these like closing credit songs.
I would think Fred Decker, Fred Decker, right? I would think Fred Decker probably wrote the Monster Squad rap Frank, for whatever reason. Yeah, Frank, whatever. That Decker guy. I want to say, I want to just run through some really quick dislikes that I had. Again, nitpicks. Suspension of belief so much from them. They're cops. They're able to freelance. They never go into the station. You never see them in there. Nobody cares that Riggs is crazy and unstable and he could live or die and he doesn't give a shit. Riggs, I really again didn't remember the whole aspect of Riggs being this like super sniper guy that has like the best shot in the business. Like he can shoot the wings off a fly from 5 miles away and all this dumb shit, which takes place takes place specifically in the desert scene. But he talks about being this, they really demonstrate him being this great shot. And then he, near the end of the movie, like right before the final confrontation, he has that like M5 or whatever with the scope on it and all that stuff. And he's running after Gary Busey, catches him up at the overpass, and Busey's driving down the entrance ramp or whatever, down the entrance ramp. And Riggs doesn't even use the scope that is literally attached to the gun, fires from the hip, and pretty much explodes the car. Okay, whatever. Fine. I really, and you know, whatever. I really disliked the MMA fight at the end of the movie. I thought that was one of the stupidest things I have seen. And I didn't remember because it's been so long since I've seen this movie. Didn't remember that whole thing happened. And it's just like the dumbest detail of all time to happen in a cop movie.
It's so stupid in a cop movie because even in like the dumbest of cop movies, when you're at the point where you literally have an audience there. Like, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be other
neighbors.
Cops that showed up
cops
or
and neighbors and everybody. Yeah.
But at this point, Gary Busey's like flat out like shot people in public like multiple times, snapped necks, all this shit. You know, he's not a good dude. And you have this guy dead to rights essentially. And I mean, again, even if this isn't this kind of cop movie, but if it were the cop movie where he just pulls out a Magnum and shoots him in the head, and that's the end of the movie, like a la Dirty Harry or something. Okay, that makes more sense to me. Or, you know, Gibson cold cocks him, knocks him out, and cuffs him, whatever. The idea that they have this like MMA fight with the conveniently knocked over fire hydrant to make them wet, and it's just
there's like
so,
a light. There's a construction light that's like shining on them and shit. Yeah.
It's a helicopter that keeps moving to make sure that they're in the circle. Yeah. It's just it's like, all right, that's
the dumbest. That's dumb, the worst, most unbelievable.
You know, the only thing that actually, you know what I think might be the only thing that's more unbelievable in it is that in LA, if a person jumps off a building and they find drugs in that room, do you really think they're doing an autopsy, like, and opening a murder investigation? Because I feel like at that point, that's pretty case closed. Like, she did drugs, she fell off the roof, she's on this car. I'm not chasing down, even if there were, what was it, Drano or whatever they said was in there,
Drain
like
cleaner or
whatever the fuck it was.
They didn't pay for the product
Do you
placement,
really
so
think
they didn't get Drano to put their name on these bills?
My point is, in a city like LA, do you really think they're taking the time to chase down something like that? Like, that seems like, in a city like LA with a shit ton of murders every day, not every week or every month, that seems like, all right, close this, move on. We got another murder to solve, right? Like, that's maybe the only part of this whole movie that's more unbelievable than the fight at the end of the movie.
Can I ask, like, really dumb guy question?
Sure.
Okay. Does she actually jump? Like, is it a suicide? And why does she jump or fall? Is she just so high off her gourd that she just falls and dies?
I think it's more of a fall than a jump based off how they play it.
But do you think what happens at the beginning of the movie is what actually happens?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I don't feel like overthinking it. I do think it's funny that apparently, this is on something I was listening to, obviously getting ready for this. The girl actually did a fall into like a big matted thing or whatever, which is cool. And it's a real stunt and all that. But when I watched it, I was like, that's a dummy. Like, the second that she starts falling, I'm like,
I think the actual
I'm like, that's
the end scene, the last like 20 feet where she falls. Yeah. I read a thing, I think it's on IMDb, the trivia or something, says that she was trained by a stunt person and she fell onto a mat that looked like, or a blown up cushion that was painted to look like
a car.
Yeah, from the top.
Right. And it's also interesting, like, this is like super nitpick for like what that stunt is, but like where she lands from the like point of view when it's, I guess, top down and she's falling.
Should have been
she lands a solid like 3 feet over from where she is when they place her body like on top of the car. I do think it's funny too that as she's laying there dead, having just fallen from this apartment or hotel or whatever the fuck it is, you see several shadows walk by this corpse on top of a car that just fell out of the building. They just walk by, don't do nothing. So
casual.
No, like, holy shit, no, whatever.
It's LA.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't have a ton left. I mean, I feel like it's time to fire up the grill.
I just want to say one last thing, literal verbatim from my notes. Did you listen to the quote unquote lethal weapon song at the end of this movie? Wow, bad.
Then you're in for a big treat, bro, because it's hot dog time.
I'm gonna go first.
I feel like I went first the last couple weeks.
You've gone first so many times. I want to come first. I want to go first. Mike.
That's what all this snorting's about.
Yes.
So.
Hey, I'm going to cut that out. I hadn't seen this movie in years.
Which part?
All of it. This is just going to be a skeleton of a podcast. It's going to be like 5 minutes long. I hadn't seen this movie in years. The third movie really soured me. Like the Joe Pesci, Leo Getz thing. I still think back to that and like, this is the time when I can forget that this whole franchise existed because that was so Joe Pesci in that movie. I hate 3 and beyond. I don't even think I saw 4. I feel like we are pulling pretty hard at strings to call this a Christmas movie, but some people do consider this a Christmas movie. But I do think it was a great excuse to revisit this movie. I don't think it's the strongest story. Obviously, it's got like a zillion plot holes, and we've already brought up kind of our big ticket plot holes that we have. But I think that the chemistry between Mel Gibson and Danny Glover is fun to watch. It's worth watching this movie because of that. And obviously, audiences must have agreed because we've got multiple sequels, a TV show. They're gonna, like you said, they've been talking forever about launching a 5th one, all that dumb shit. It's no Die Hard, but Lethal Weapon is fun as hell. I think for me, it gets a full hot dog. It deserves a revisit if you haven't watched it lately. If you've seen it and you're just kind of tired of it, I could understand that. But I think for me, not seeing it in a while, it was a fun watch. Like I said during this show, I think watching part 2, I might actually enjoy that one even more than this because like I said, it kind of already builds the lore of these characters and you don't have to rehash like Mel Gibson's suicidal and blah, 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 blah. I'd like to see if it was part 2 or part 3 where he gets in the straitjacket and that's when we find out he can dislocate his shoulder to like get out of traps because then that pays off later in that same movie, whatever it is, that kind of gimmick. But yeah.
Whose hot dog is this? Huh? Is it yours?
Like you, I haven't seen this in quite a while, probably longer than 10 years. I couldn't even accurately tell. It's kind of exactly what I remember, though, in a lot of ways. It's a buddy cop movie. It goes hard on the action when it wants to, and it spends a lot of time not going hard on the action. And there's nothing inherently wrong with this movie, but it's also like Like if Sean's like, hey, I'm going to put on Lethal Weapon. You want to hang out and have some beers?
You're like,
I'm
no.
not going to tell him no. Yeah, I'm not going to tell him no, but like it's never going to be the movie that I reach for to put on in that like action movie like fix being needed. The cast is great. Each like it's got Tom Atkins being shot with eggnog, which amuses me. It's got high points in it for sure, but it doesn't balance out the parts for me that drag. It's a half a hot dog. I don't hate this movie, but I don't love this movie. My parents both really like this movie, and that might be part of why I can't stand it, because they were like, oh, this is what action movies are. I'm like, I've already seen Commando at this point, and it's way better than this movie or whatever. So yeah, it's fine. I get why people like it. I certainly get why people like these characters as a duo. To your point about Lethal Weapon 2, from everything I was reading with this, a lot of people made a point of saying like Lethal Weapon 2 is actually the one that I like more than 1. So maybe we'll do that in the not too distant future and prove them wrong or prove them right or whatever we decide to do. But yeah, this is a half a hot dog for me. It's kind of it will probably be a solid 10 years before I go back and try to watch this again. And it will probably be not because I want to, but because, you know, Sean's going to be like, we really need to cover Lethal Weapon again and do a ranking video on them on the show. And I'm going, why the fuck are we doing that? That's never something we've talked about doing, but whatever.
Who knows? I was going to say the next time you'll watch this is because you've been tricked into it.
That's a possibility.
It won't be under your own power. You'll be like, oh,
yeah.
Oh shit.
Here we are again, watching Mel Gibson fight in the mud.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, anything else you want to hit on before we wrap up on this?
No, I think you said this was your parents' favorite. I don't know if I saw this in the theater or not, but this was a movie, you know, VHS wise, like 10-year-old me watched a bunch, and 2, and I think 3 lesser, but 1 and 2 I've seen so many times that it was like, you want to talk about Lethal Weapon or watched Lethal Weapon? I'm like, all right, it's been a while. You know, it's one of those movies you feel like you don't really need to watch, but I'm glad that I did because I didn't remember half the shit that happened in this movie.
Well, and I think it's also one of those franchises, quite frankly, that you kind of remember clips from it and kind of insert said clip into said movie, whether it's the right spot or not. Like you were saying with the dislocated shoulder thing, which I'd forgotten about until you said it just now, but honestly, that could be any of them other than Lethal Weapon 1. You could say it's in Lethal Weapon
7.
Any of them. But okay, sure. I don't know. And I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Like they all kind of blend together. There's certainly other franchises that do that. Like the Bad Boys movies are kind of, especially with the last 2, like it all kind of blends together to me at this point with those. So they're not like the only franchise to do that, but I'm not sure that's a huge selling point either. So.
Fun fact, the Lethal Weapon TV show, they killed off the Martin Riggs character after season 2 because the actor was so unbearable to work with that they just killed him off.
Did they have play him?
I don't remember. Season 3, it was Damon Wayans was the Roger Murtaugh character.
I did want to say, and I meant to mention this early on, and then we'll wrap this up. This movie, although Riggs has a bunch of slurs that are not cool by 2025 standards for sure, I will say they don't rest on like lazy humor and jokes. Like there's no inherently like they're a black family, so we have to make these jokes because they're black guys,
right.
or there's nothing like that. They don't inherently they don't make it feel like Danny Glover being black is something that's a plot point, and that's kind of really nice to see in a movie from 87, where a lot of movies that are its contemporary, even like Bad Boys, makes a ton of ethnic jokes in those, at least in the first 2 movies. I'm sure they do in the other ones too, and I just don't remember them. This movie never really rests on that. Like it's actually, as far as the humor that's in this, it's not lazy humor. They earn the laughs that they get out of that, and that's something that's worth mentioning. So
the last thing I want to say that I didn't say during this episode is that I know that Mel Gibson is like, he's he wasn't born in the US, but he's American, but he's from Australia. He totally has an Aussie accent in so many things that he says in this movie that I never even recognized seeing it prior, probably just being a kid. Like he's Australian. I had no idea. Like, no, you can listen to him talk, like certain things that he says, or even I'd say like 80% of the things that he says has like this very slight Australian accent, like, oh, Oh yeah, he is from Australia. Forgot about that.
Yeah, it doesn't really take you out of the movie,
No.
thankfully, but it is there. You're right. So I think that's it. We keep saying one last thing, and then we keep getting other things.
One last
maybe
thing.
we should just shut up.
He has no hair on his back,
One
but
last
his
thing.
ass and his legs are so hairy in that nude, but full rear nudity. Is that what they call that? Total hair all over his ass. Anyways.
One last thing. If you'd like to follow our show, you can do that. You can do that at all the usual places on social media. We are at Dewey Pod Monster on pretty much all of them, except for Blue Sky, where we are at crap.town. You can also go to crap.town. That is our site where you can find all of our episodes, new and old and upcoming, whatever. Leave us feedback there. You can send messages to us directly. If you're like, hey, don't fucking wait around. I want you to talk about Lethal Weapon 2 fucking tomorrow. You can tell us that. We're not going to do it, but we'll do it eventually, but not tomorrow. We are members of the You Run Podcast Network. You can go to yourunpodcast.com and find all of our episodes there. While you're there, please check out another episode. There's a lot of great shows on there. There's Girl and Gay, Pop Culture's Reflection. Of course, the You Run Podcast is on there. All kinds of great stuff. Go check it out. You Can Eat That Pus is on there. Podcast in the Woods. Bunch of people that have been on this show. And while we're on the subject of Christmas action movies, if you're in the mood for a good Christmas action movie with a lot of people getting their ass kicked in comical ways, come down to Batch Brewing. We're going to be there on the 18th. We're going to show Violent Night. We have already covered that movie a couple years back. I want to say 2023 is when we covered that. It will be linked in the show notes, I'm sure. But if you'd like to come have a beer with us, have a hot dog, and get festive, we're going to be showing Violent Night there on December 18th at Batch Brewing. Be a good time. Sean, take us home.
Be there, be square. I was going to add, if there's anything in the show that we talked about that you're interested in, we're going to leave it in the show notes. And you know what? By golly, I don't think there's any other show in the known universe, the multiverse, that leaves so many links to free content than we do. Everything that we leave in will be free, except for the things that aren't. And if it's not free, more than likely it'll say Amazon next to it. If you click those links, you buy something, you buy toilet paper, you buy toothpaste, you buy sanitary napkins, whatever it is that you want to buy. If you go through the link that we put on our page in our show notes, those Amazon ones, we get a small cut that helps the show. Other way to help the show is to tell your friends about the show. If you like Lethal Weapon and you said, Sean has a good idea, he's great. That John guy, he's a dickhead. Then that's cool. You can tell your buddies and they can watch a show. Other way to help support the show is to leave reviews on your favorite on your favorite platform podcast of choice, on your favorite podcast platform of your choosing. Other than that, you can find me on Blue Sky exclusively at internalbleeding.crap.town. I leave stupid clips of stupid movies, and once in a while I leave a stupid hot take on something stupid that you probably really don't care about. And in 6 months you'll be like, oh yeah, I follow that internalbleeding.crap.town guy. I didn't know he even posted shit on here. I'll probably post something and you might actually laugh at it. Other than that, you can find us on social media, like John said, at Dewey Pod Monster. You can find us at crap.town on Blue Sky. And that's all I got. John, tell them what they've won.
Swill up, butthorns.
That's what you've won.
That's it.
Oh, okay, cool.
That's what you've won.
All right. Cheers.
Swill up. We'll be back for Christmas. Come to Batch. Ho, ho, ho. Now I have a machine gun.
Bird season's over, Butthorn.
Blah, blah, blah.